Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves. I want to welcome you all. So we're going to go through the usual basic information in the beginning, and then we'll get right to tonight's topic. You can like the Leather Elves on Facebook, and you get notifications that way when we go live. You can check our Facebook page for surprise sales, pop-up events, things like that. You can also follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So there's a lot going on. We're getting ready for the Rockstar Tour. We've got T-shirts that are available through Custom Ink. This is what the T-shirts look like. They come in different colors and different necklines. Look at that. And you can order those through Custom Ink, and you will get them. The campaign closes the end of May, and then you'll get them 2 to 3 weeks after that. So they'll be in time for the rescue tour. If you're going to meet us along the way, we will have surprises for people. This is where we're going to be, a lot of different places. And you can catch us at any of them. The dates are there. And if you've got your T-shirt on, there'll be a surprise, maybe. We reinforce positive behavior, like wearing your T-shirt. So, so that's what's going on with that. And we're gearing up. We're getting stuff together, and there's something that's been going on Facebook. I've seen a ton of it. I'm sure you guys have too. And I wanted to talk about it. And so when I thought about this topic, one person came to mind. Someone who I know has amazing experience and is like, I don't know what the term is, but she's a fly off aficionado. That's what it is. So I want to introduce you guys to, and a lot of you know her. My guest tonight is Debbie Goodrich from Flight Club Foundation, and it's Debbie Goodrich and Rachel the intern. Hi, Rachel. All right, Rachel.
Hi.
We're just gonna call her Rachel the intern. Okay. So, so I have Debbie's bio here, and there's a lot to say about Debbie, and all of it's amazing. So I'm going to read this if you don't mind. It's a lot, but it's pretty impressive. Debbie began her work with parrots at 7 years old when she owned her first pet parrot, Amy the cockatiel. She learned during her education at Santa Cruz that parrots are far more than just pets from an amazing breeder called Fox's Feather Farm, where she met Jade, her first long term parrot partner. He introduced her to the professional field of parrots, first through the breeder and then on to becoming a professional parrot trainer, as he helped her secure her professional career by being hired as a curator of fish and birds at Rainforest Cafe, shortly after graduating with her bachelor's degree in psychobiology. As an undergrad, she was honored to be selected to study elephant seal behavior at Año Nuevo out of hundreds of applicants. She graduated by writing a senior thesis paper on dolphin reintroduction, hoping dolphins could be retired. Do you need are you just waving? You're saying hi.
I'm saying
Dolphins could be.
first thing to see the comments on there.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
so saying hi
Gotcha.
to the comments.
The hoping that dolphins could be retired and returned to the open ocean. Alas, she found out through evidence that reintroducing long-term cetaceans is not a humane option. Her professional work began with Rainforest Cafe, where she was quickly promoted to curatorial position in Seattle. There, she established relationships with AZA-accredited facilities such as Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, Seattle Aquarium, and Woodland Park Zoo. She's a professional member of IAATE, International Avian Trainers and Educators, IMATA, International Marine Animal Trainers Association, and lifetime member of ABMA, Animal Behavior Management Alliance, Alphabet Soup. She has lectured around the United States about parrot care and humane practices, as well as performed with her amazing ambassadors at over 2,000 educational programs in Washington State. I'm tired already, Deb. Um, she
It's
helped create she helped create Flight Club Foundation in 2013, dedicated to helping parrots and people globally. This work includes regular contributions to conferences, scientific articles, and global visitations to the rainforest and other parrot-centered programs around the world. Her heart remains in Tambopata Research Center when she visited in 2002. She regularly contributes to science and has done work in tandem with Dr. Donald Brightsmith in literary research. She cannot wait to have her work with Flight Club Foundation's Global Carbon Initiative take off. Her background in combined behavior sciences offers a unique perspective as she approaches behavioral challenges. It's
wow.
pretty impressive.
You could have
It,
kept that's okay.
I feel it was important because what it said to me in reading Debbie's bio was that there are different facets to what creates someone who's able to do what you do. And I wanted people to hear all of that. So, all
Well, thank
right.
you. It's appreciated.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, all right, the first thing we got to do right out of the gate, we've got this amazing logo here on screen, and we've got Flight Club Foundation. Let's talk about that. Tell us about, well, start with Flight Club and then go from there to World Parrot Expo, please.
Well, I will open with you can talk about Fly Club, but you can't talk about Fight Club, which will be eventually our bumper sticker, including the bar of soap. We're going to definitely have that on the bars on the bumper sticker too. But Flight Club Foundation is a 501c3 licensed. We're actually licensed in the state of Washington as a parrot humane society and networking organization. So yes, we do take in cases, but we also work on all kinds of like we don't really have a central location and building for our humane society. Instead, we triage and help in the field and then use the network to try to manage birds that need places to go, manage birds that fly off, manage birds, whatever management of birds is needed. Instead of being in
Mhm.
a central location, we go out to the location and help them. So we obviously are connected to people like the Kitsap Humane Society we just worked with today. And the big thing about becoming the Humane Society license, what happened during the pandemic when people's birds couldn't make it to the vet because they were not considered, able to. So we got the license so we could then be first responders to get these birds to the vet, get the medication to the bird. And then that's kind of where the next growth of Fly Club is. Fly Club began as a club, just like any other clubs out there. And unfortunately, clubs are really disappearing. And we pray and support as much as we always can. Please, God, keep clubs around. They really are needed, and versus just our Facebook presence. And that's one of the things we really try to support by being present in all these things like, hey, I need a fundraiser, okay, we'll send money, whatever it is to keep these clubs going. And the very sad fact is that Fly Club Foundation was founded when all the clubs ended, and we were trying our best to kind of support those that were still around, but they still ended up collapsing anyway. So in order to do all that support, you have to have a multiple facets of business to keep things stabilized. So, and that's one
Mhm.
thing, some of the things that we're working on how do you keep a stable relationship going over the 12 years that we've been doing it. So it's a mix between volunteers. It's a mix. I mean, it's a really big
Yeah.
mix of everyone that's needed for that kind of thing. And I can't say enough, despite huge differences in philosophy, religion, behavior, whatever, we all still need that
Mhm.
we all are part of the whole wheel. We're missing a cog of the wheel won't turn.
Right.
So we need it all. And that's what we try to do.
Absolutely. So now tell us about World Parrot Expo. This is exciting.
It is. It's really exciting and kind of scary for us. World Parrot Expo is our newest brand of Seattle Parrot Expo. Seattle Parrot Expo
Mhm.
started. That's basically what we founded the foundation on. Is our major fundraiser, which it has been for 12 years. Seattle Parrot Expo. It's become larger and larger each year and getting bigger and bigger in scope. And so we kind of wanted to launch a new scope. We had that plan, and that plan was in play to change the name. And then at the same time, we got offered a new location. So we're really jumping 2 feet into the fire, and it's got some people like, whoa, we're worried. But at the same time, whoa, it's exciting. So
Mhm.
we're going to be at Emerald Downs, and it has a full service bar that you can walk around with your drink with children. You can be all over the grounds of the Emerald Downs. It's got this beautiful, stunning view of Mount Rainier that you get to be able to see there. It has a full service food court there. So it's not going to be just like it's going to be a much bigger scale as far as the actual building itself and its capacity in keeping people engaged and
Oh,
just hanging
sorry.
out for the few days that we're going to be operating. So it is coming on September 27th and 28th, and I am proud to announce officially that we will be getting the contract signed. So it's not complete. Okay, it's not quite officially, but Jen Kahuna, sorry, Jennifer Taylor O'Connor, sorry, Jennifer, is coming. Yay! And is being our featured speaker there, along with other featured speakers, of which Nick helps us with. And so we hope you guys register and sign up to see some of these featured speakers. The full announcement comes June 1st of all the speakers that will be joining us. But we have
All
all
right.
kinds of fun things that we do, including strapping on a pair of parrot feet for you to pretend like you're a parrot and see how far you can walk without tripping. That's kind of one of our challenges that we do at that. So we have children's games, we have an aviary, we have, I mean, basically we're going to have a whole education floor versus our exhibition floor. So it's going to be a really cool thing. We're really excited.
It's exciting. I mean, it's always a good time. Like Carrie just said, always a blast. And I
Yeah.
think this is the next incarnation of Seattle Parrot Expo. So this is awesome. So that's going to be great. If you're out that way, and I know a lot of people who are listening are, then put it on the calendar, the 27th and 28th of September. All right.
Yes.
So let's talk about fly-offs. This is, I mean, we're all seeing them on Facebook, oh, my bird flew away, bird, parrot 911, my bird's gone. And people are sharing them. What's your opinion, Deb, about why we're seeing these more often?
It's a lot of reasons. We kind of had some outline reasons too. So, like one of them is the season. I mean, it is true. I always go, "Oh, look, it's the season. Here it comes. It's sunny, and the doors are open. Families going in and out unpredictably." And there's things that people are promoted, like I really want to fly my bird, and I'm just going to let them fly around my house, but I'm not going to necessarily train them to stay
Mhm.
on a station. I'm not going to train them to recall. I'm just going to let them fly. And I'm like, well, no, you need to train them if they're flighted. They need to learn to sit and stay in a spot and then come to a spot, and they need to learn how to find you and all these things before when you have them. So,
And
so I think is an issue.
I think we empower our birds, which is important. We really want them to feel empowered,
Yeah,
and we give them, flight if that's what you choose to, in the home. But if you choose to
yeah.
do it pre-flight outside, that's a lifestyle, and it's not something you can take lightly. And I think we all get excited, right? It's spring, it's beautiful, the weather's gorgeous. Let's just take the bird out. It's okay. He'll hang out with me. He won't leave. So, oh wait, I got one for you, Deb. My bird's clipped. It's okay. He's not going to
That's
fly
fine.
off. Not going to fly off.
So what I say to that is, what kind of bird do you say that's clipped and it can't fly? And not only that, but I have yet to see a clipped bird that can't completely fly. They can all fly, obviously, with the whole wing to your body weight. Like
Mhm.
your macaws, if you clip them properly, they're pretty much going to stick around right where you are. It's really hard to get them into a top of a tree because they have such a big body to wing ratio. But if you have an umbrella cockatoo, maybe we can pick them up there. Areas.
Cue
If you have
the
one of those you clip this guy, even if you clip him fully, and a regular clip, this guy's he can get to the top of the tree. He's got such a light body to wing ratio, he can get up there. So if you're outside thinking and assuming that that clip is going to definitely keep him there, it's not necessarily the case. What clipping does should do. Sorry guys, they're excited. Let me close that door. What clipping should do, speaking of outside, they're out in the aviary. But what clipping should do is just reduce their flying, but not eliminate their flying. Anybody who thinks that clipping is eliminating flight is not addressing clipping in the right mindset. They are
Yeah.
still able to fly. It's just
Mhm.
reduced.
And Adrian just brought up a good point too. Quote unquote, my bird has never flown, so it's not an issue for me. We've all heard that.
Or
she said,
fly.
yeah, and it's, that one moment when they get spooked, this bird that stays with you all the time, and suddenly something comes into the environment, spooks them, and they're gone.
Yes.
Um,
And this guy is one of those guys that the owners keep showing me, hey, he can fly. He doesn't like to fly. He doesn't fly off. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but you're still going to hold the feet. You're still going to do the snuggle. You're still going to do something to make sure that he retains his safety because you never know. I mean, literally, I'm not kidding. Like 2 days ago, we had an eagle that struck something really large in my yard. And it was down on the ground in my yard, only about 100 feet from my aviary. So
yeah.
bald eagle. So not a small guy. So
Mhm. Yeah. So,
he
and Carrie just said, unless a bird has major atrophy, a good gust of wind can still pick it up. And that's so, and then,
absolutely.
which
And the
leads to
smaller,
like a whole other, yeah.
well, hold on. And the smaller, the more,
Carrie says
right?
cockatiels gain crazy height,
You
crazy
can't,
fast.
you can't ground a cockatiel. You can't ground a parakeet. It's not going to happen. So just
Um,
expect them.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing too. And Michelle says her 550-gram clipped eclectus that did not fly got over a 6-foot fence from a relative, and thank God she got her back. But it's it's a matter of, so maybe it's a windy day and they can get more lift and they don't know how to come down. I mean, that's a skill that I don't think we even put this on the outline, Debbie. But
It's
if you're
kind of on there a little
training, is it on there? Is it at the back? It's at the all right, we'll get to that then.
more, maybe.
Okay, so
Yes.
we've got season, we've got I trust that his wings are clipped, it'll be fine. How about the well, he loves me theory? He's not gonna fly away because he loves me.
I'll be honest. I operated Ollie, my green wing, on that theory, and she
How'd
was
that
gone
go?
for 4 days. What? She was
Yeah,
gone for 4 days.
yeah.
She came
And
back.
and
I will say that it's really, really. I was explaining this to my intern too. It was glorious. It was glorious. The very first fly off I've ever had of my own personal bird, where she's overnight. Like any other owner that ever experiences it, it is terrifying, horrifying. It's not an experience. That's why every single one, I'm out there for everybody because I experienced it and I know what they're going through.
Mhm.
So it's terrible. You're not going to sleep. You're going to definitely assume your animal's gone, and they're not usually. It should all go mostly right. But that said, when my green wing took off the very first time ever, and I was training her for outdoor flight specifically, but she's not a good candidate for it. But I was going through the whole there's a very rigorous process that we have established over time. And I was going through that rigorous process with her, but she's not a good candidate. So always remember there's a candidacy that you need to consider, even with a
Yep.
bird that's big like a green wing. So in this case, she took off the next morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. The sun's coming up. And as it's coming up, I call, Ollie! And here she comes. Whoa! You can't, oh my God, just cry. That's my
Yeah.
bird. There she is, and she's coming to me. She could go anywhere in the world. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that on a daily basis? Just let your bird, hey, go outside for a while, hang out, and when you're done, come home.
Yeah.
It just
That'd be
doesn't
I
work
mean,
that way.
and wouldn't it be beautiful if that were the case? But it's not.
It's
And,
not.
and
Yeah.
even I don't care how much you've bonded with this bird, I don't care, because there are things that come in between the "I love you" bond and, coming back. And
Definitely.
so we just have to be aware that that's not don't rely on "he loves me," because that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
So and then, we talked a little bit about encouraging flight, that wanting to be a free flyer, wanting to give them that freedom, unless you're willing to really, um, you know, like you said, the candidacy. Carrie says not all birds are good free flyers. But unless you're willing to really dedicate your life to that lifestyle, it's not,
And then
it's not. Yeah,
lifestyle, not like, hey, I'm going to the babysitters for the weekend thing. No,
no,
it's
no.
daily, hourly, all consideration. You have to understand physics. You have to understand how their body operates. You have to understand how their nutrition operates. I mean, it's there's so much involved. That's why there's so few professional trainers that are out there doing outdoor bird flight shows. And
Yeah.
even they, despite the immense experience and an immensely experienced team that are all extremely professional, still have losses.
Yeah. Oh, I remember back, it was when Natural Encounters first started doing the flight around the Tree of Life at Animal Kingdom. And it's a big macaw flight. For those of you that haven't seen it, Google it because
Honey,
it is breathtaking.
it is.
But one season they had a bumper crop of acorns in the trees in the park, right? These are oak, there's the acorns out in the trees. And I remember they did a paper, I think it was Amy Fennell that did a paper called Acornageddon, and how they had these wonderfully trained birds that would come and circle the tree, but then they would get up in with the acorns and be like, "Pfft, yeah, good luck. I'm not coming down. Sorry." And so even with very well trained birds, professional trainers, it happens. It definitely happens.
That's
So
correct.
So what do we do now, Deb? We've got
Else, which you can't rely on telemetry either, but telemetry helps.
this is true. This is very true. But you got to remember to keep it up and maintain the telemetry, maintain it mechanically with the batteries, all those kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah, Carrie says food was available. So that's the thing. Like, so in Maine, if your bird gets out, even now, there's not a ton of food available. But I was looking at a fly off that just happened in Virginia, and there's more food available in Virginia right now. If
Yes.
you go to Florida, there's even more food available right now. So
Yes.
that piece makes a difference.
It does.
But all right, so now we've got the fly off. Okay. The unthinkable has happened. Um, what do we do?
You go outside and pretend your bird's in your living room, and you call to them as if they're in your living room. But good luck, because your instinct says freak out. And
Yeah.
your bird's going to see, no matter what, in the most subtle body behavior, because we're talking about body behavior too, is that the most subtle body behavior you have stiffness, looking like that, versus, hey, come here, more smooth like that, makes a
Mhm.
big difference, because that animal is looking at you for its role model. And if you're acting like you yourself are being targeted by a predator, they're not going to come to you. So the
Yeah.
calmness, and when you try to go out there, and it is hard because your stomach is below your toes. I mean, it's down into the where earthworms are. So I mean, you're just you're like, I'm having a panic attack. And it's so hard to get that panic attack, to try to keep it under as much control as you can, and go, I'm right here, you're okay, keep coming, good bird, good bird, good job, yes, I still see you, good job, good job, as they're kind of flying around your circle, which is
Yeah.
exactly what happened to me when I lost my canary wing parakeet. She escaped out
Mhm.
the front of the door because it was a double. We violated the rule of a single person entry. I violated it. It was my fault. There was no one else's. And that we had two people go out the door, and the bird was going for me. I was in the front, my son was behind, and then the bird got out the door. So, and unfortunately, I lost her for forever. But I was doing that. I stepped out and I watched her, and I made sure she was going. And that's what you do. You really make sure, because she did. She tried circling back. She was doing her efforts of learning. You could see she was learning. She was trying. She was getting her efforts in there, and then trying to work her way back. So that's why it's so calm. It's so important to remain calm and stay out as long as you can while they're out, as long as you know where they are, because they're going to land and sometimes call, and land
Yeah.
and sometimes not. So why don't they
Mhm.
call? There could be predators, and they know it,
Right.
and they're quiet. So you have
Mhm.
to be prepared. They're not
And
gone.
I
They're not dead. Just protecting themselves.
if you can keep eyes on as long as possible, I think that's really important. But I think that's
It
an important piece too, is that they may not be calling. And it's not, oh
no,
well, they're gone because they're not calling. But
correct,
it's that completely different environment. It's they're a prey species. They're out there where there are predators. And so they're kind of checking out the whole thing. Even calling to you at that point may be detrimental in their thought processes.
correct.
Um, so yeah. And so what about so as far as what you want to have prepared to take with you. So obviously you're not going to fart around in the house and find all these things before you go out. You're going to go right, as soon as you realize this is what's happened, you're going to try to get eyes on. What do
Yeah,
you
and don't
suggest?
go. My big thing is don't go in the house or anywhere else until you're absolutely certain you don't hear the bird and you don't see it anymore.
Mhm.
Don't leave until you're certain they're not going to respond. So you got to stay out for a bit, and on
Yeah.
your own potential. And it's okay
Mhm.
to stay calm as you're out and on your own. It's going to be scary a bit, but stay
Mhm.
out, try listening, try hearing and seeing. Like, think about how it's flying when it takes off, which direction did it fly when it took off, because those things even help us. So I can
Yeah.
figure out its next predictable behavior somewhat.
Mhm.
We actually did a pretty
Sure.
good job predicting a recent fly off. Unfortunately, it did not resolve in a positive outcome, but I did predict some of the behavior that I was expecting, and it did happen. So
Mhm.
it shows that there is a predictable thing that we can work on.
Yeah, and I think, you
Yes,
know,
keep your eyes on is
yeah,
a big one.
and I
That's
if you've got other people with you. So I know this is something with, and I've, had people tell me about times when you were out there looking for birds, helping people look for birds. Um, sh- eh, in my opinion, everyone shouldn't be calling all at once. Am I right?
yes.
Okay.
The one that
Okay.
we identify and know and are most comfortable the most is who the should be doing the calling, unless they're not responding to that person for some reason, and maybe a new sound might be responsive.
Yeah.
Do I
Yeah.
still sometimes call and lapse into the I'm calling too? Yes, we do it, but try not
Yeah.
to. Try to
Yeah.
let the owner be the one calling, or if you have a buddy like we have, as you can clearly hear in the background, we have a
Mhm.
buddy system for all of our birds here. I really suggest buddy systems. Um, that's also difficult to train and takes a bit of a lifestyle,
Mhm.
that you got to be aware of things on that. But if you have buddies that are in the same area, you have I call them anchor birds.
Mhm.
They anchor the animal, like that's a lot of times. I think NEI kind of. I don't think they call them anchor birds, but they still have a buddy that the bird wants to come
Mhm.
back to. So buddy back, so the bird comes back to the buddy.
Mhm.
I think they have that as a part of their thing. That I really recommend that if you can. Any sounds that are just everyday sounds. I hear that chink in the bowl. I know that. So I bring the bowl and I bring something I can
Mhm.
chink the bowl with. Not necessarily eat the
Yep.
food, but the sound of the chink in the bowl,
Yep.
kind of thing.
And I think, bringing out flock mates, as long as you can do it safely, as long as you've, got them harness trained, or, you've got them in a carrier that you can bring them outside because, I mean, they're flock animals, right? So we want to keep them maybe communicating with that other bird, because
Yeah,
some of the flock mates are going to be like, where's Ollie? What happened? Where'd he go? And I think it's that sometimes it can help you get eyes on too. If you've lost sight, you bring out a flock mate, then you can get them to sometimes call to the other one. So
right.
it's a possibility. Um, what about free flyers? If you've got free flyers, are you gonna put them up in the air if you've got another bird out?
I haven't had a lot of experience using other flighted birds to get other flighted birds back myself.
Yeah.
Others have, I have not.
Mhm.
Because most of the
Okay.
birds I deal with are individual owner work, where we are trying to work with that individual owner who does not have a lot of these extra resources, like having a potentially already professionally trained bird that can recall. I
Yeah.
haven't heard too much on different sites of huge success in that. I don't know how the Virginia case, if that for that blue throat that came out, if
Um,
that was how helped the bird recover. Did they?
Amanda just commented that she's got Riker is Audrey's anchor bird. Audrey's, just so you guys know, Audrey is the bird that was out, in Virginia, got back safely. They used Riker to kind of be like, "Hey, it's time to come home."
Yeah.
So that was definitely,
Did
have
Riker fly Audrey, or Riker was just anchored for Audrey,
I
right?
think Riker was in a carrier, if I believe, and maybe Amanda,
Yes.
you can comment on that. But yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll see what she
To
says.
me, as far as a behavior non-verbally, if you're looking at it, right, you're adding an element of non-predictability to an
Mhm,
already unpredictable situation that you're trying to predict,
mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and
Or
I think too, if you've got birds that are seasoned free flyers, yeah, she said he was in a carrier. He was the anchor. Um,
usually,
so
even Chris Armstrong, who's had a few birds fly up, it's
yeah,
really rare, I think, that he sends the bird flying. He
yeah,
keeps them here, and then they come to the where I
right,
want you to come to
right,
this location. I'll be finding you.
and
But I
that
think
makes
having a
sense.
after it's flying off would just add more chaos.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is it adds more chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I would
agree.
think. I don't know if does any eye ever do something like that where they send a bird out?
I don't
I
I don't think so. I'm not I can't say for certain, but I don't think so.
don't know either.
Um,
So there you go.
yeah.
That's a professional. So there you go.
Um, so how about bringing out their cage or a carrier that they're familiar with? Do you ever do that? Like if okay, so you've gone out, you've had eyes on, you know, they've stopped calling, it's nighttime, you know where they were last seen. So now you go in till, you know, it's time to go out at dawn or before dawn. Do you bring the cage out with you in the morning? No. No.
Wait till it's work. And if
So,
you leave
wait,
it overnight, like I would leave the cage overnight so he sees it overnight. Maybe he'll come to it overnight. And you leave
right.
food in it, put a raccoon in it.
Yeah, no.
And
Yeah.
a raccoon is
Yeah.
not something that ever come, and it's too exposed and too
Yeah.
low, no
Mhm.
protection. It can be hit
Right.
on any side at any time.
Yeah.
And the parrots seem to know that. I think there's been a
Mhm.
couple of cases that came back to a cage, but he had to have like the cage on a roof.
Right. I mean, I think if you had, so if you had the cage and it was at a reasonable angle from where they were, I would never leave it out overnight because again, that you're right. That's confining and predators and just not a good situation all around. But if it's somewhere where they're particularly comfortable, like, okay, this is, I mean, because in essence, we know that a lot of our birds look at that as a nest cavity.
Mhm.
You know, we're going, so it's their
If it's
nest.
if it's that, bring them. Bring that
Yeah.
carrier and use it. I want a nest, and I want a nest now, and I see my nest. And yeah,
Yeah.
if they're really onto that, use it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like in the case of Raja, we always have the carrier anyway because we're trying to get him
Mhm.
back to us. And the carrier
Yeah.
needs to be there. So if he does fly to us, we can put him in the carrier.
Mhm.
Always having that present once that, it's overnight or whatever, the next day, having that carrier present with you wherever you are
Mhm.
is, or nearby you is good.
Right.
So that
So,
you have,
okay,
Who
the
also
so
doesn't know
treats and stuff. Oh,
knows like my cage is in the corner of this room, like it's not gonna understand that that's
the
the
cage
cage
out there
when
and
it's
what's
outside.
my cage doing out there
Yeah,
in the yard? It's always in my room
yeah.
is one of the things she was pointing out when we are going through the talk too, which
mhm.
is a good
Yeah,
analysis.
the familiarity of it is important, you know, the fact that you're right, it's in a different location, and our birds
Yeah,
are so in tune to very small changes. Um, yeah, Carrie said when her pair of highs got out, she used a flock mate in a crate. Yeah, I mean, I
anchor bird,
think that's
bird. Yep, crate, anchor bird. Yep, and then make sure that crate is not something where an eagle can strike when you're not looking. So it's got to be
yeah,
a really nice covered up crate as well
mhm,
as when you're out there.
absolutely.
I
So,
get a lot. So many eagles here. So
yeah, not
where
everywhere
oh,
has that.
I'm like,
They're
oh
not
yes,
all
there
that
is. Yeah, yeah.
but, treats and things like that. So, here's a question, and I know people are gonna lose their mind, whatever it takes as far as yeah. I mean, bribery is a beautiful thing when it comes to a fly off.
Our group is like, we've learned, get the pizza box, buy a whole pizza and eat it in front of the bird. And I can't
Yeah.
tell how many pizzas, how many pizza parrot recoveries we've done. We've done a lot of pizza parrot recoveries. A lot. I'd say about at least a dozen are just even the box empty was enough for some parrots to come back. It was came right
Mhm.
to the empty box. And I was like, but the
Mhm.
box is empty. But anyway, I luckily
But it
saved
doesn't matter.
crust. I'm like,
It's that visual reminder that, you know, "Oh, there's pizza there. There's that thing that I really like." Um, and, you know, I know Melissa Davis. Melissa's not on tonight because she's fixing her bike. She has a flat tire, but Melissa experienced a fly off with Zorro, and, I mean, she was making popcorn for when people were, you know, people had eyes on and people knew where Zorro was. And she knows that popcorn is a big motivator for her friends and for Zorro. And she made popcorn for because she knew he would come down. And that was, I mean, thankfully, that was a very successful recovery. So, yeah.
and he flew really well. As really because she does do practice flights on harness and does
Yeah.
fight practice harness outdoors. So he has a little bit more familiarity with outdoors. So it's a really tough call when it comes to risk in the pre-fly off state, like for training.
Yeah.
I encourage people to take their birds outside, walk them around so they can see landmarks outside, but it is a risky proposition.
I mean, I encourage the same, Deb. I would just encourage with a harness. Work on the
Harness,
harness team. Um,
but you know what Buddy says about that.
it is lunch on a leash. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It can definitely be lunch on a leash, but
Yes,
if you've got your bird just out to acclimate, yeah, Melissa said Jody said Melissa was passing it out to everyone to get him back. Yeah. Um,
absolutely. That's a
and
great way of.
yeah, and you're giving people what they need.
He flew in that case, just so you guys know, for Zoro, he flew to his landmark, which is kind of what I was predicting he would do anyway, versus to me or anyone else. He flew to the
Yeah,
landmark he understood the most, which was that house. So
yeah.
he ended up flying to the patio of the house next to his house, but it was that patio, that same region is where she flies him, is between the two houses so much.
Yeah,
So sure,
yeah.
he went to that primary region he's had the most experience. He went back to.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's the same thing Rachel was referring to, is that you've gotta have there's that familiarity, and if there's a location, if you I mean, even if you take them out on a harness into your yard, they're
Yep.
acclimated, they know their surroundings. They know because as it stands right now, most of our birds don't know what it looks like outside the house
Yep.
or outside the bird room for some birds, and so if you can acclimate them that way, it's a very positive thing to do.
Yep.
So
And speaking of that, just real fast, sorry, I know I interrupt a lot.
no,
But when it comes to that, what I see in fly-offs, especially for birds who have, most of them don't have experience outside. So what I see happen 90% of the time, including when my parakeet flew off, they fly around, they get out, and they're going to do a circle. And then usually in macaws, it's almost always to the left from the point of fly off. I don't know why. Whereas parakeets can go in any direction, but they almost always will circle around to get the bearing of the landmarks that they're seeing, at least a couple
mhm,
times. And at the same time, if they don't have a lot of flight experience, you can see them where they're like trying to figure out and negotiate how their body is working in the moment. And
mhm,
it's definitely, you can see the negotiation process if you know flight well enough. And that's I've been doing it so long, I can actually see that negotiation process as they're doing it. It's kind of cool. If you're not the owner, if you're just watching, I'm like, wow, what's that, and they're like, oh, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're totally adjusting themselves. Look at that. Did you see that? They're like, they didn't know what they were doing. Now they do.
mhm.
So
Well, and which brings up the point that they need to learn how to land. A
yes.
bird that is not a regular flyer, even if it's indoors, landing is a skill that you've gotta learn, and so I think, that's something to work on with them. Yeah, Amanda says, or Abbott says, Buddy always sets up a travel perch, which is the same perch he uses as a free flight perch. So it's that
Yeah.
familiarity of
Yep.
where you're landing. Um,
Uh, Ray Varela, who does a lot of free flight in California, he always used that
mhm,
truck with the perches. That's the
yep,
landmark that the birds identified. Absolutely. Chris Bureau used a pirate ship for the
yep,
birds and so they could always see the pirate ship and would come to the pirate
mhm,
ship.
yeah. And Amanda said she could tell that they got their she got her bearings. Audrey did when she had flown off. So along with landing, we have to think about um, the glide slope. So it feels like a lot to have to calculate while you're looking for your bird, while you're watching your bird. But the thing is, a lot of people make the mistake that they stand, like if a bird's in a tree and they stand right at the base of the tree, it doesn't work. Yeah, this is not how flight works. So let's talk about that, Deb. Tell us, what do you suggest?
Always try to get to the most preferred. I call them the flight path. So the flight path is whatever angle this way, around this way. and then where their body is looking, where their eyes are looking, so that it's the easiest, relatively shortest. Sometimes the shortest isn't easiest. Sometimes you have to go longer because it
Mhm.
brings that angle down more, so they don't have to stoop down. But definitely do not stand at the bottom or the base of a tree. They can't unless it's branched all the way down to where you can just hold your hand out, and it's got so
Mm.
many branching. It has happened. I have watched a blue and gold do it, where he was so panicked about flying and just really couldn't control his body, and he had a harness attached to him, and the harness was loose and dangling, and he was actually managing to climb his way down. It was like only one case in the hundreds of cases I've been dealing with where he actually climbed his way down.
Mhm.
But it's very, very rare.
Um,
When it comes to that landing thing, the biggest thing about landing, the number one rule of landing is the most difficult task a flighted anything can do.
mhm.
Okay, so if they have unsuccessful landings, they will have very hesitant takeoffs, very hesitant desire to take off because they've
Mhm.
had crash landings. And if
Yeah.
you watch fledglings in the wild, they kind of have some crash landings. They gotta, okay, mom, I'm gonna try this. Woo! But you said it's okay. I'm gonna try it. And then that's why we have so many fledglings that are, that people report in. Some of them do really well. Some of them have some pretty serious crashes.
Mhm.
So it's that crashing, that if they have any kind of crashing history in your home a lot, like they can't land even on an A B with a nice soft landing onto a perch, they're going to be really hesitant about taking off. That's where a lot of that hesitation to take off is because they have had a history of unsuccessful landings.
Mhm.
That's
And
why
I think
taking that, yeah, yeah,
and part of
go ahead.
that is watching their body language too. I
Yep,
mean, we've talked about, watching them circle and watching them kind of figure it out and get their bearings. Um, when a bird is perched, 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be this little kind of leg bend. Do you know what I'm talking
mhm,
about? There's a leg bend and then it's kinda like if you
yep.
were gonna jump.
It
It's
is a
and you
jump.
can
No, it's a jump. It's
yeah,
totally a
it
jump.
is.
If you super slow motion, like if you could ever get these guys when they're flying and you go into mega slow motion, it literally is a jump.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
So
It's
they're propelling themselves, and if you keep your eyes on them, you can gauge when they're gonna take off again.
Yes.
Um, it's never just like boom, there's always that kind of drawback and move forward, that
Yep.
happens. So it's important. And I mean, this all goes back to, and we've talked about it before, being aware of your bird's body language. So if you are
Yes.
comfortable
What's
with,
this mean?
yeah,
When they're winging,
exactly.
they're not
Mhm.
going yet. They're kind of uncertain about where to go. I don't know where to go, but man, I sure want to go, but boy, I sure don't know how. Ugh, man, I really want to
Yeah.
go, but I really don't know how. Versus that, I'm going to step back and then I'm going to go. There's a big difference between winging and then I'm about to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it comes back to we need to be observant as to what
Yep.
that looks like. Um, so, all right, train. Okay, let's take a step back. We've called out the troops. We've got, our posse now that we can, break away and make those calls or pull out the phone, keep the eyes on and make those calls. Um, who else do we need to call, Deb?
It depends. Isn't that always the answer?
Yeah.
So eyes on means you just want to have people that are not by the owner that the bird could possibly fear. So you have to stay
Mhm.
away from the owner. And your job as a supporter is, wow, you close the door on yourself, silly bird. And it happens. But in this case, is you make sure that the people are in positions of possible flight paths. So, like, he's identified this way. He looks like he's going to be this way. I'm going to put the owner right there, and then the friends and family and everybody that's coming. I want them more spread out into potential flight paths. Like, where is he possibly going to go? Is he going to go across a busy street? Not normally, unless he really is chased by a crow or something. Then maybe he might. So I might even put people across the street in
Yeah.
case I see a lot of crow action, for example. Like, oh, there's a lot of crow
Mhm.
action right now. You guys need to go all the way across the street there because I think that he might get chased. So, and if he does, we need somebody in that other neighborhood over there if he goes that way, even though it's like
Mhm.
oh my gosh, 5 blocks the other way versus where
Yeah.
the owner actually is and the bird actually is.
Mhm. And I
So,
think you brought up a good point with the crows. If you
mm-hmm,
don't have eyes on, if you've lost sight,
mm-hmm.
watch for other bird activity because that
Oh yeah,
it can be an indicator. Um, not
and
one you want to. Yeah,
don't talk to
yeah.
your friends. Listen,
Mhm.
I found a
Yeah,
bird from beak grinding. I heard beak grinding.
yeah.
You're like when I go out, like people are like I want to talk to you. I can't talk to you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude to you. This is an urgent
Mhm,
situation. My thing has to be listening because we don't know where it is. And so I'm out and I'm listening hard. So that means any
mhm.
sound I'm trying to listen for. So, and it
Yeah.
really makes a difference for those small, when you can't see them, those small, tiny, tiny sounds. I found my blue crown conure in my, I have a rhododendron out front. She was gone for like a good long while. Couldn't find her anywhere. It wasn't making any noise. And then I heard beak grinding. That's how I found her.
Hmm.
Oh, big switch.
And yeah. So, yeah,
Ooh,
Adrian says the blue
that
jays
flighted bird.
also,
Look at that flighted bird. Ooh, that's a flighted bird right there.
but the blue jays will also harass parrots. And then
Yes.
Amanda said that Audrey would call out to the sound of the truck.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of
No,
a good.
crow indicators. So like when there's a crow, I call them crow indicators is because they call when there's something unusual. They have a
Yeah.
call that says this is something unusual I don't identify. And if you know crows well enough, you'll know that call difference. It's kind of cool.
Mhm.
Um, and whereas they have a different call if they see an owl, and then they have a different call if they see a hawk. So kind of learning those calls is really a cool thing.
Mhm.
If you can ahead of time, just kind of learn them. It's kind of fascinating just to learn.
Yeah.
But listening to the crow noise is telling you where your bird, a lot of times, is telling you where your bird is too.
Yeah. So we don't, okay, to say prepare for this, people are going, well, no, because I'm not going to prepare for this because it's never going to happen to me.
Don't
What do
ever
we
say that to yourself. Don't ever say that to
don't?
you. Just say it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, and be ready.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It happens.
And if it doesn't, wow, I'm lucky. This is great.
Hey,
Um,
you're lucky.
so training recall. I mean, I think even in your house, it's important to train recall.
If you have a
What do
flighted
you,
bird, you need to train your flighted bird.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think that's super. I think it's really important no matter what. Yeah, Carrie says they used to use a whistle whenever they treated. Whenever they were training and they treated, they used a whistle. So if that's something that I am not coordinated enough. I mean, well, I could use a whistle because but not with the click. I can't do a clicker and I don't know. Yeah, not the clicker, right? I don't I mean, okay, if you're doing marine mammals, you might be able to use a clicker, but doing birds, no.
Whis- Whistles.
Yeah, yeah.
And even then,
Um,
and teeth and whistling.
true. Yes. Um, so water for you and the bird when the bird comes, if the bird's been out for a significant amount of time. Um, what, the crate we discussed, um, do you think, Deb, you can train flying down? I do. I think
Yep.
I think you can train that skill.
Yep.
Um,
I think so too. We've seen some
yeah.
pretty cool yanking or junking, or what do they call it when they can really
Yeah.
when you even see
Yeah.
macaws that they can really twist themselves around in there. Oh yeah, they can learn some things that they don't normally would have
Yeah.
in their purview in the wild that they do a lot in the wild. Because in the wild
Right.
they kind of have to hold some of that energy back for future use, so they
Mhm.
can't express some of these more creative moves we see in our birds.
Right. So Flight Club also does fly days. Is that correct?
Yes, and they keep
So
calling
this,
us free flying, and I'm like, we're not free flying, we're indoor flying.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think but that's a great place where you could work on those kind of skills.
Yes.
When do those happen, Deb?
Flight Club has 2 meetings a month on the second Tuesday of the month from 12 to 3.
The next one's on the
Um,
13th.
the next one's on the 13th. Look at her go bring up the phone there. Thank you very much. Debbie's a little behind on, making sure to have those announcements, but, and then the fourth Sunday of the month, the fourth Sunday being now Memorial Day weekend here in May. So we'll see if people show up, and sometimes they do. And sometimes it's a little bit quieter too. So it's a great opportunity for the community to also see the birds and how the birds socialize. So going back to the preparing and flying off, the big thing to prepare for that is, how do you do it? So in the house, I would say the very first thing is station training, target training, recall training, because then you're finally moving. And then I call it the hide and seek training. Go hide and have your bird fly to you and find you. They can't see you at all. You're going to go hide, and they got to come. If your house is safe.
I know Melissa does that with Zorro. She goes around the corner and she works with him on flying around the corner to come and get her, to find her. So that is important. Lori asked at the beginning, I noticed, she asked for microchip. I think if you can microchip your bird, highly recommend.
Please do. It helps.
It definitely, because there are cases where the bird gets into somebody else's hands, and they, you need to be able to identify. You can say, oh yeah, I know my bird. That's my bird. Well, we need to it gives you a little bit of backup proof. So if it gets in somebody else's hands.
Take pictures of the face, especially because the facial pattern is unique. It's that way you know it's yours. And actually, that's how we recovered a bird all the way out in New Jersey that ended up, I was over the phone. He was actually at JFK International Airport at a gate right next to an airplane. Talk about really dangerous for that bird. He ended up in, not Connecticut, but like Burlington. He ended up like 35 miles away. So I think somebody got him and released him again. We're not quite sure. But the animal control officer did not believe that the bird that was at JFK was the same bird at the other location, that he ended up getting the bird in his reprimand or in his care. And so we had to prove through facial recognition that I had established, like, this is how you can tell that this green wing is this same bird. And so that helped. Microchip would have helped a lot more.
You were saying, because my bird has a little ID ring on his ankle, to make sure that you have that number.
For yourself. Don't share that number.
No, don't share the number. And Michelle said to make sure you keep your registration up to date. If you do microchip, make sure that you've got it's kept up to date. That's really important. So now Michelle remembers she's got to do shadows. So that's good. I'm glad we could help with that. But the talk about, the facial recognition, I suggest, and we were talking about this before we came on, taking some pictures and creating a flyer. Do it now. Do it, tonight while you're hanging out. Exactly. So you've got this. You've got something that you can easily, if you go in that night and you need the bird's out overnight, get these together. Have somebody that a friend, one of your helpers, print these out for you and get them out and give them to people in the neighborhood. So, And
this QR scan thing is a really interesting one that you can actually save it to a PDF document that can have even more details on it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's great. Adrian says that bands can help. There was a Ducor that flew away from its owner's shoulder. The neighbor found it but didn't know who it belonged to. They took the bird to a local bird store and they were reunited because the store had the records. So it's and even with a Ducor, they're not that common. Yeah, Abbott, absolutely never share the band number. Do not do that. And don't give out all the details. If somebody says it's got to be, if somebody calls you and says, that's my bird that you found,
we had that.
Get that information from them. Don't say, oh, he has, this yellow feather that's sticking out of the side of his head and he's got this and, describes all these things. Have them tell you before you relinquish that bird to
Yeah.
anyone. Um,
Because the sad story is that we actually had a case where a Coffin's cockatoo, unclaimed owner, it turns out, was trying to get claimed by a scammer. So there are scammers out there trying to claim your bird, and they are out there trying to get them and maybe sell them. Who knows what their plan is? So they'll find these lost birds or see a lost bird post, pick them up, and then not report in, and then it's just
yeah,
gone.
yeah,
So
yeah,
really, really be careful with that. So in this case, we proved that the bird that she was claiming to be hers was not, but it took some serious deliberations on trying to figure that out because it was not an easy task, especially when we had no owner recognition, no owner history as well, because he was just. And that's the other thing.
mm,
We're really trying to tell people, if please God, if you ever have a problem with your bird, and it's a really bad problem you're having, never, ever, 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 and can I say enough ever, ever release them. It is the most
yeah,
cruel thing you can do to them. Please
mhm,
give them to a society, even if it's a dog and cat humane society. Give them to something somewhere else where they can be secured.
yeah,
Don't release them.
absolutely. Absolutely. They're not equipped,
No.
someone says, "Oh, well, they're so much happier." Well, life is pretty darn good in our homes. They're getting toys, they're getting food, they're getting attention. They probably may have a flock. There you go. Like, life is horrible for that cockatoo. You'd be so much
Just
happier.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
Did you go? How often did you go to the wild? How
Happy
often
birthday.
have you been out to the wild? Did you stay out there with no electricity?
Whoa.
you know,
no
so
electricity and nothing to defend yourself with except, maybe a fork because that's what we've got here, but we
they
wanna,
evolved. Yeah, they
yeah,
evolved what they have to do what they do, which they're successful at, which is great. And the coolest thing
yeah,
about parrots is that they are so amazingly adaptable to almost
mhm,
everything that comes their way. So they learn fast. So if your
yeah,
bird does escape and they're flying, they're learning fast how to get
mhm.
back to you. So don't
So
give up,
they're learning on the fly.
literally.
Exactly. All right. We've come to the top of the hour, but I want to let you guys know I have a DVD and a digital download called "Get Your Bird Back." Created it years ago, and this weekend only, it's on sale. So the digital download is usually 10. It's $6 this weekend, and the DVD, the hard copy, is $8. It's usually 12. And for any of those that are purchased this weekend, and tell your friends and tell them, yes, it might happen to you, that $1 for each one sold is going to go to Flight Club to thank you guys for spending this evening with us. So help us support Flight Club. We're going to be out there in August, so I'm kind of excited. Carrie and I are going out on the Rockstar Rescue Tour. We're going to be at Flight Club, and that's final words of advice, Deb. Anything that people should
Don't
think?
give up and train your birds when they fly. Have your
Yeah,
flighted bird trained. Station train, target train, recall train. Start with station, target, recall. Please, God, please do that.
yeah. Thank you so much, Debbie. This has been amazing. Thank you, Rachel, the intern. And if you, I know that Debbie is always crazy busy, but I'm sure that I'm going to speak for Debbie now that if you found yourself in a situation like this, didn't know what to do, reach out to Deb and she would be happy to help with that. I think there are a lot of us out there that would. Um, and
Yeah.
like I said, we've got that DVD. Grab it, throw it in or watch it. And next week, we're sticking with the
Please
Pacific.
watch the DVD. I have a copy. Watch it. It's good.
Thank you. So next week, we're sticking with the Pacific Northwest. My guest next week is Dr. Paulette Santanacita. And I know that I botched that up. and we're going to be talking about safeguarding against disease transmission. So, for those of you that don't know Dr. Paulette, I know Debbie knows her. She's amazing, and she's been on before. So, all right, we will see you guys next week. Get those DVDs, brush up on what we talked about, and hopefully it will help. Good to see you, Lillian. I saw Lillian last night on a webinar. So, everybody take care. Have a wonderful week, and just be safe out there. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Right.